If you're looking to promote your brand online, then the first place to look is to PPC campaigns. A PPC campaign is, of course, pay-per-click, and that means you pay each time a user actually clicks on one of your ads. There are several things that make this a fantastic way to generate traffic, which we'll look at later. For now, though, suffice to say that PPC gives you the precise control that any advertising campaign needs and allows you to build a perfect business plan with a precise advertising spend, target demographic, and profit margin. But when it comes to PPC, only one word will often come to mind: Google AdWords. Google AdWords is by far the biggest PPC platform and the one that most new marketers will go to first. But there are other options out there, and actually, focusing only on Google AdWords can be a big mistake for your campaign. We'll look in more detail at why this is in the coming videos, but suffice to say, Google AdWords is actually more expensive, more competitive, and less precise in many ways. And this is where Bing comes in. Bing can help you reach an entirely different section of your market while avoiding direct competition with some of the bigger competitors in the field. As we'll learn, Bing can offer you the perfect backdoor and can even help your rankings on Google. It's the perfect starting point for the small, lean business and a very wise backup source of traffic for all online businesses. In this video series, you'll learn more about Bing and how it differs to Google. You'll learn why it's crucial to start paying attention to Bing, and you'll learn how to take advantage of all its unique features. At the same time, we'll also be looking in depth at the best practices for creating successful PPC advertising campaigns on Google or Bing, and we'll see how this can be employed as part of a comprehensive business plan. Whether you're interested in using Bing ads or you're just thinking about doing more search optimization for Bing, it's time that you stop neglecting this search engine and focusing entirely on Google. Now, let's be honest, most of us don't really practice SEO, search engine optimization. We practice GEO, Google optimization. Google is the first and last word in internet marketing as far as a huge proportion of internet marketers and SEO agencies are concerned. It's time to change this way of thinking. But why? Why break the habit of a lifetime? Well, for starters, Bing has 20% market share. Well, that'll work you up, right? Many of us think of the search engine industry as being a one-horse race, but really that's not the case. 20% is actually a pretty decent chunk of the market. And when you consider that Yahoo still makes up around 10% and that Yahoo is powered by Bing, that number goes up to 30%. This is a serious amount of web traffic. Now ask yourself, in what other scenario would you be happy to let 30% of a market walk? If I told you that you could get 30% more visitors to your high street store by changing your shop name, you'd change it in a heartbeat. 30% of potential visitors means 30% of potential customers and 30% of potential profit. Instead of earning $50,000 a year from your website, you could be earning $65,000 a year just by paying attention to Bing. Now, that's a massive difference and a free holiday. And there are plenty more reasons to wake up to the reality of Bing as well. For starters, Bing is integrated with Windows 10. Windows 10 is the latest iteration of Windows from Microsoft, and it comes with being deeply ingrained into the system. What's more is that Microsoft says this is the last version of Windows ever. That is to say that future upgrades to Windows are going to be iterative rather than complete overhauls. So we can safely say that Bing is here to stay. Not only is Bing the default search engine for the Edge browser, which comes with some pretty neat tricks up its sleeve, it's also the search engine used by Cortana. Cortana is a digital assistant like Siri that now lives on your desktop. If you want to find out the weather, for instance, you can simply ask Cortana, and while you're typing, she'll pull results from Bing and tell you. Bing has also recently made the transition to Android and iOS and is found nicely on your smartphone. This means that even if someone should set Google as their default search engine, they're still likely to be using Bing on their desktop without realizing it just by speaking with Cortana. If they ask, what does hypertrophy mean? Cortana will open up Bing and show the results in the browser. That could be your website that they're showing. And the same is true if they own an Xbox One. We don't have the exact sales figures for Xbox One right now because Microsoft are remaining quite tight lipped about them. But we do know that they're in excess of 25 million around the world. Xbox One comes with a lot of home entertainment functions, including a browser that you can use while playing games or chatting on Skype. And guess what search engine the Xbox One browser uses? While the Xbox One isn't quite the massive success that Microsoft had hoped for, PS4 still has the lead in the moment. The company is still getting great reviews in all other departments and is generally considered to be firing on all cylinders at the moment. Examples of this can be seen with the success of Windows 10, the Microsoft brand, and the Surface line of hardware. Then there's the huge buzz surrounding the HoloLens. HoloLens is a piece of mixed reality hardware that might well introduce the world to a new form of computing. And guess what search engine it's going to use? Anything could happen in the next few years to upset the apple cart and lead to Google losing market share. For example, Apple have repeatedly threatened to ditch Google as the default browser on iPhone, and this could very easily lead to a seismic shift for the search engine landscape. Then again, it might never happen. But the question is, can you afford to take that risk? Are you happy knowing that all your eggs are in Google's basket? And one last thing to consider is that Bing offers a lot of opportunity for the savvy SEO stroke webmaster. Why is that? Well, simply because Bing is lesser known and there are fewer people trying to rank there. Likewise, there are fewer people paying for PPC. That means you'll pay less per click and you'll find it much easier to get to the top of the SERPs. Specifically, well, you'll pay around 33.5% less on Bing compared with Google AdWords. In real terms, that means 33.5% more traffic for the same cost. A lot of people never consider Bing SEO and they don't know what the key to succeeding there is. That means the 30% of traffic to be found there is ripe for the taking. It means you can do a little background research and then just swoop right in and get to the top of the SERPs, that's the search engine results pages. You'll be in a smaller pond, but it will be much easier to get the fish biting. And what you have to understand is this can lead to more knock-on effects for your Google ranking too. Think about it. If you get to the top of Bing, then that leads to a lot of exposure to 30% of the web. This in turn means that you end up landing more backlinks and getting discussed in more forums and more comment sections. The same goes for paying ads on PPC. You can use this as your way in to boost your position in Google's SERPs, as well as to generally increase your brand without directly challenging the biggest players in your niche. And apart from anything else, if you completely rely on Google for all of your traffic, you put yourself at risk of something going wrong when Google changes its policies, which it does all the time, or should something go wrong with Google itself. Look, this is a video about Bing ads, but that doesn't mean we have to be unrealistically biased towards Bing here. There are still plenty of good reasons to prioritize your Google AdWords campaign, the biggest being simply that Google AdWords lets you reach a bigger audience. But with that said, it makes a lot more sense to make sure that you're on both. The Google apocalypse may never come, but you should still have a contingency plan in case it does. Finally, think about the kind of person who is likely to be deeply ingrained with the Microsoft ecosystem. Who is likely to use Microsoft software suites and hardware? Simple. Businesses. That means executives, CTOs, and managers. And that means they're also likely to be looking at Bing. If that's your target demographic, then you should strongly consider adding Bing ads to your campaign. There are more reasons why Bing might be a better choice for building an effective PPC campaign. For example, it's generally considered that Bing offers superior control over ad campaigns in some aspects. For example, Bing allows you to set different ad campaigns for different time zones, allowing for sophisticated ad scheduling strategies. And this can end up making an important difference to your success. As in comedy, timing is everything for marketing. Likewise, Bing allows you to set more things like location and language for each ad group rather than for each campaign. Bing also allows more precise device targeting, letting you set different bids for different types of devices. It also lets you choose which search partners you want to work with, and it makes it easier to leave out variations of your search terms in order to create a more focused campaign. Oh, and on one little side note, Bing is actually much better looking than Google. Those daily features images really give Bing a relaxing and modern feeling, and the animated ones in particular can actually be reason enough in some cases to head on over to the site. Surely it's worth showing Microsoft some love for that. At the most basic level, Bing ads work like Google AdWords. So, if you're familiar with the concept of PPC in general, you can probably fast forward some of this video. Still here? Then let's quickly recap. Essentially, PPC ads are pay-per-click ads. That means you'll literally be paying per click, paying for each person who clicks on one of your adverts. The reason this is such good news is that you'll never pay anything for a campaign that was a complete failure. If you create an advertising campaign for Bing and not one person looks at it, then it will literally cost you nothing. It also means you can precisely calculate the cost of each visitor to your site. Now, this is important because you can use that information to calculate how much each customer is worth and thereby start making very accurate projections about your earnings and identifying the best ways to spend your money. So, the next logical question is how much you're going to spend on each click. And the good news is that you get to choose this. You get to choose your maximum spend and you also get to choose your budget for the day. First, you define your CPC or cost per click, which is going to be the maximum amount of money that you're willing to spend for each new visitor. You'll probably want to keep this fairly low. The most that brands will generally tend to spend is up to $2, but even that's unusual. Generally, though, you'll want to set this a bit lower and your average will probably come in at around 10 to 20 cents. The next thing to do is to set your daily budget. Once the accumulated clicks you've received reach this amount, they'll stop and you won't spend any more money. So, in theory, if you set your CPC to 20 cents and you set your daily spend to $20, that should mean you get 100 visits to your site for that amount. But things get a little more complicated, seeing as you don't tend to spend the full amount of your CPC. That's because there's a bidding system that takes place, which means you'll often spend a lot less. Now, the way this works is quite simple. If there are two or more adverts both competing for the same space on Bing, then they will enter into a bidding war. The ad with the highest CPC will be the one that wins and gets shown, but the owner of that ad will only be charged the minimum amount that it needed to win. The easiest way to understand this is to just think of it a bit like eBay. On eBay, you can set your maximum bid, but you'll only end up paying $1 more than the next highest bidder. And the same is true with most PPC campaigns, and that's why you'll end up spending 33.5% less on Bing versus Google, because the lower amount of competition means that your CPC won't be as likely to get driven up. And of course, you also need to consider that your ads will be shown to a lot of people who don't click. You don't pay anything for these ads, but that doesn't mean they're worthless to you because you'll still be getting exposure and you'll still be starting to build your brand. The other thing that most PPC ad networks have in common is the ability to target a specific demographic. And this means that you can identify who your buyer persona is and profile your ideal customer from there. Then you can target that person specifically with your adverts. The way you do this with both Bing ads and Google AdWords is by targeting search terms. When you pay for these ads, you're literally putting your adverts on the SERPs relating to a particular search term. You do this by choosing a keyword or key phrase, which is going to be the thing that you want people to search for in order to find your site. So, for example, if you were selling a hat, your key phrase would probably be buy hat online or cheap hats, etc. This is now a targeted ad because it lets you advertise specifically to people who are looking to buy the thing you have. That means they'll fit within your target audience, and actually, this makes them qualified leads. Another way this might work is by going the slightly long term route and focusing on search terms related to interests. You might have a site where you blog about fitness, for example, and sell supplements and training clothing. In this case, your keyword might be how to lose weight or fitness articles. A good keyword is going to be one that is both popular with your specific target audience and that is not overly competitive. We'll look at this in more detail in the subsequent videos. Rounding out the holy trinity of PPC networks is Facebook ads. Facebook ads are similar to Google AdWords or Bing ads in terms of being PPC, but the difference is in where the ads are shown and how they're targeted. As you might have guessed, Facebook ads are shown on Facebook and will appear in the home feed and sidebars while you're browsing. These show ads which are once again tailored to the person using Facebook. But this differs insofar as the ads are targeted based on information the user has given Facebook. Information such as their age, their sex, their marital status, their location, and even their hobbies and interests. This allows you to even more precisely target the right person, but not necessarily at the right time when they're looking for products. When someone is browsing Facebook to catch up with their friends, they're more likely to be just frustrated to see your adverts popping up. With all this in mind, Facebook ads is another useful platform to add to your campaign in conjunction with Bing and Google AdWords. Just make sure you're using the right ads for the right location.